Hey everyone. So just want to come back to this this concept of regular expressions. So I worry I made them sound scary in the last video. They're not scary. They're awesome. You will grow to love them once you start playing around with them. And anyway, so I kind of wanted to start over with this example. So as you recall, we I can't remember what it says. Has different mailing. I'm not sure. Let's say it has same mailing, right? So we have this issue where we have some of the contents in our cell are shared, which is these pound signs, but everything else among the rows is different. So I need to be able to essentially identify whether this one sort of small subset of characters exists within any other collection of characters that might be in that cell, right? So those characters obviously could be what they are, which is, numbers and letters and spaces that make up a street mailing address, right? And actually, I know that this pound sign is at the end, and so I could try to even specify for that. But basically, the idea is that regular expressions are a way of matching patterns to strings, and they let us do that kind of filtering really, really well. So again, I have this sort of value match thing. So value, if we go back to our default here, we see that value is just the contents of our cell. It's what's in the cell. So basically, when I say value match, I'm saying, hey, and you notice that we have these round parentheses, right? So very similar to what we saw in the spreadsheet software, where when we have a function, we have round parentheses, and then we have to put something inside of it. Very often, for example, when we were generating a sum, we were putting in a reference to the cells that we wanted it to add up, right? We're passing some information in and saying, do your work on this material that I'm putting between these round parentheses. So it's the same kind of concept here, and except that in this case, what we're going to be matching is what's known as a regular expression. I'm going to say that 58 more times. And the way that we tell the computer that what's coming next is an expression rather than what we would call a string literal, right? Or like an actual exact string that we wanted to match. And I tried to sort of do this. I'm going to see if I can do it with one of these other ones. Junction. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be wanting to actually match those things. There's probably some subtle difference, but basically what we want to do is say rather than trying to match that actual string literal, right, 4136 Junction Boulevard or anything else, we want to say, look, we want you to just see what we pass you as a pattern, right, and look for that pattern. And so the way we say that in Google Refine is we use these forward slashes, and you can see that what's coming up in my right hand pane here, right, this is my preview of my results, very, very handy, is null, right? It's saying, well, right now you haven't given me any expressions, so nothing can match it. And so all of the new column values are going to be null. But what I want to do is I want to say, look, just tell me everything that doesn't have a pound sign in it. I just want anything that doesn't have a pound sign, because I know that if it has a pound sign, then it has this different mailing address. And if it doesn't have a pound sign, then it has the same mailing address as the address listed in the column. And so in that case, what I'm going to do is now the question is like, how do I find the syntax for this? How do I know what to put between these slashes? Well, the answer is we look it up. So first of all, we have this reference page on the OpenRefine website, and we will be posting this, that kind of gives us a nice overview of, first of all, the functions that I can use the regex with, or that I can use regexes with, and some really nice descriptions of sort of how they function, and how we can think about describing the expressions that we try to match with the patterns that we try to match with regular expressions. Here we have a more comprehensive one. The pattern, the type of regular expressions used in Google Refine or OpenRefine are based on the Java programming language, and so they actually provide this reference and say, look here if you need some additional information, right? So we can use these references to learn more about sort of what's what. So for example, I can see if I go to predefined character classes that if I want to say something is the opposite, here's string literals, is that it? If I want to say, not this thing, right? So I see construct and I see these square brackets with that caret that I had, and then followed by, A, B, and C. And basically what it's saying is the character that comes should be, the character that you look for should be anything but the characters followed by this caret. And so actually, the thing with a regular expression is what I want to do is I want to write it as minimally as possible. So I want to say, look, as long as it meets these criteria, then it's sufficient. And so in my case, I'm going to bet that I can get most of what I need by just saying, look, as long as it doesn't, i.e. caret, have a pound sign in it, then I'm okay. Except that doesn't seem to have quite worked here because I'm still getting nulls for things that don't have pound signs in them. Why is that? Well, the way that when we write character classes, when we sort of write out these regular expressions, we have to give it a way to account for every possible character that might be in that string, which of course would be not very easy to do because in this case, right, because we don't know how many letters or numbers or anything else might be in this. Well, fortunately, regular expressions have a way of handling that, and it handles that through the asterisk and the plus sign. And so basically what the plus sign does is it says as long as it is one or more. So as long as I have at least one character that isn't a pound sign, and then, or at least if I have at least one character that isn't pound sign, and any number thereafter, right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, ad infinitum, then I'm good to go. And actually, I see this fulfills the requirements of my regular expression. I can see that 5661 Riverdale Avenue is coming up as is coming up as null, right? It's not showing up. But I am, and you can see it's not a very satisfying expression, but these square brackets mean yes, this thing has matched. It means I found what I'm looking for. Now, having sort of empty square brackets and null values isn't a very helpful flag for my column, which I want to say has same mailing address. So I'm now going to start wrapping this value match thing. Now that I know that I've pulled out the things that I want, right, the ones that do have the same mailing address, and I've distinguished them successfully from the ones that don't, I'm going to say if not null. Okay, so this is another function. So I'm saying, look, if this isn't null, then I want you to let's see, if it's not null, then I want you to just say true, and I can even make that text, and otherwise false. Oops, it looks a little bit confused there. So for some reason it says, oops, I don't know, so it says if not null, I don't know what you're talking about, right? So again, also some handy error handling here. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to put it in red text. Also, you may notice it says parsing error at offset 9. If you remember, if you think back to doing your JSON lint example a couple of weeks ago, you also saw this sometimes when you got errors. Like it would say, oh, parsing error at offset, right? So parsing error is kind of like generic computer speak for, I don't know what you're talking about. And sometimes the index can be useful, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So we start counting at 0, and what it's saying is, you put in 9 characters there. I'm looking at them. I have no idea what they mean. So what do I do in this case? Well, I'm going to go to the help section, which was the thing that I originally referenced, and I'm going to try and find this function that I thought I had, and I don't see it in there. So I'm going to keep looking down here and see if, there's lots of stuff. Controls, filter, for each, that could be handy. For each index, for non-blank, for range, if, okay, I thought that was it. Is non-blank, oh, is not null. I see, I just got it a little bit wrong. So I'm going to say is not null. And so I'm saying is not null. Oops, and I don't have this quite right either. So now it's saying, wait, is not null express only one argument. Okay, so I didn't quite get that right. So let's go back here. So again, is not null is a function. So I'm also wrapping using round parentheses there. And so, so I actually don't even need to do anything else, right? I mean, having true and false in there is not so bad. So if my column name has same mailing and I say is not null value match, I could also wrap this in an if. I think this is right. Right, I could do this. So basically it says, so the way if works is it says if, and then again my round parentheses, but it accepts 3 arguments. So each argument, the argument is each item in the list. So that's the first argument. And you see we separate our arguments with commas, right? Again, the arguments are another name for the stuff I am passing into the function. And in this case, it's saying, look, if whatever you find here is true, then I want you to put true in the next column. And if whatever you find here is false, I want you to put false, right? So we already kind of had that happening because that's sort of what our is not null did already. But if we want it to be something else, if we want it to be a flag, we could say something like same, right? So if we needed to do sort of a translation on this, we could do it, right? So I'm going to leave this as this. And again, I can see right here in the preview pane that this is doing what I want it to do. And I can just play around with this until I can get it to do what I want it to do. And having done that, I can now go, oh, okay. And I can kind of double check my work here. So I'm going to go ahead and text facet on these two things. And I'm just going to check my difference, right? And then I'm going to text facet on my street addresses and make sure that yes, indeed, all of them do have pound signs. And of course, that's only a one-way check, right? Because I know that everything that ended up with this flag does have pound signs, but I want to make sure that everything that there's nothing with pound signs in my same category. And so now I'm going to go ahead and switch to same and just take a quick scan down here. This should have worked. Looks pretty good. So that is a brief and very cursory introduction to regular expressions. I don't want you guys to freak out about this stuff. You're not going to have an assignment on regular expressions this week. I just want to get you familiar with the idea, give you a sense of what they're used for, because you may find that there are things that you want to do for your final projects that can benefit from them. And we will talk about them in much more detail next week. But as I said, just kind of wanted to get your brains around that a little bit, and they really are quite fun. So that is all for now. Have a great week, everybody. I will be available, as always, via email and maybe even via Skype if needed. And have a great time with Mike, and we really look forward to seeing your final project pitches. Feel free to post any questions to Piazza, and I will see you soon. Take care.